If not, we're really late. If not, we're really late. Okay, I'd like to call to order the Torrington Public Schools Board of Education regular meeting for Wednesday, September 17th. And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mrs. Capabianca. Here. Mayor Carbone is not here. Mr. Heyman.
Just coming into the door.
Mr. Carbone has a room. Mrs. Hona here. Mr. Kisco.
Here.
Mr. Nargi. Not here. Mr. Rader. Here. Mr. Rivera.
Here.
Mr. Tebow unable to attend. Mr. Trout.
Here.
Mr. Campolita.
Here.
Mrs. Placco. Here. Mr. Potter.
Here.
Thank you. School community session. The board invites members of the community to speak on topics to be addressed in the agenda or on other topics of interest. Individuals wishing to make comments are requested to fill out the speaker sign-up sheet, including your name and address, which must also be stated at the beginning of your comment. The board will not allow comments regarding specific staff members or personal grievances. Courtesy is expected in this limited public forum. The participation time will be limited to 3 minutes per person and 10 minutes overall to guarantee an efficient operation of the meeting. Do we have anyone on the line?
I believe so.
BJ. Mr. Kevin.
Good evening, everyone. Paul Cabanero, 848 Torrington Street, Torrington, Connecticut. I'm here tonight, Mr. Chairman, to speak for myself. My views do not represent anyone necessarily on the City Council. They certainly don't necessarily represent any other people in Torrington, and the opinions I express are solely my own. It regards the what I read about in the paper on Saturday about the decision to reinstitute an assistant superintendent in the Torrington Public School System. My concerns are these. I was on the Board of Education at a time when we went through a reorganization, an administrative reorganization. Superintendent Clarko came forward with a plan that necessitated hiring a number of new administrators. The plan was radical, it was different, and it was designed to provide administrators at the 6th grade, at the administrative salaries and benefits level. That's 7th grade. At the 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. Every class from 6th grade on had their own administrator. The stated purpose of this reorganization, as I recall, was to provide personalization of those classrooms in relation to those administrators, and essentially to allow enough administrative support to put out the fires, to deal with the many different kinds of conflicts we had within our classrooms. The budgetary rationale for doing that was expressly stated numerous times as the elimination of the assistant superintendent job to provide additional funding to support that. It is my recollection that based on this administrative reorg, in the last contract negotiation with the superintendent, there was something like, what was the additional pay increase? Was it $12,000 in the contract?
For the superintendent?
Yeah,
It
$8,000.
may not change.
Wasn't there an additional increase in her salary? I could have sworn I read that. There has not been one? No?
That's his interim.
It's the same salary as the interim position, and it's the same through.
Over all these years?
Overall.
Really, was that a
For the next
proposal to do that?
No.
No? All right, then I'm mistaken on that. But I do recall that the reason for doing this, that there would no longer be an assistant superintendent necessary if this plan was put into effect. The plan was put into effect. So now we're calling for an assistant superintendent a year and a half down the road. So my question is, was the plan a failure? Did the person who was responsible for hiring the administrators that were hired, did they do a bad job and hire administrators who are not capable of doing the job? If the plan was good, if the administrators are good, why are we suddenly now coming back and asking to fill that position that we as a board at the time, and the public and the taxpayers of Torrington were told was no longer necessary? My general concern, I hear that we also have another administrative position that was recently created. Didn't exist before. This has to do, correct, am I wrong, with providing some sort of outplacement for kids looking for work to be an interface between the community and the school district? Is there an administrative level job? Was that not created recently within the year?
The position was in last year's budget. We did not hire for that position last year, and so this year we did. This summer we had the time, and we had the other parts of the reorganization in place, but it includes an administrator for our alternative program at Ridgeon Avenue. Oh, I'm sorry.
This isn't a back and forth.
He asked a question, I was trying to.
I know, but it's, we don't give anybody else
Okay.
that plan.
Sorry, I apologize.
You actually only have 1 minute on the clock.
Well,
We're running out of our time.
my concern is that, once again, in general, I see this overabundance, over the years, the 10 years that I've been on, I see this overabundance of hiring more and more and more administrators, and not hiring nearly enough qualified science, math, history, literacy teachers in this school. Yeah, you can chuckle all you want, but in point of fact, you know, I deal with parents all the time. I know the size of the classrooms. I know what's happening in those classrooms. And at the end of the day, instruction is delivered by teachers. And I just think, in my opinion, this Board of Education has gone way over the top in emphasizing the need for administrators versus putting good qualified teachers in those classrooms and giving them the support they need. If in fact we need an assistant superintendent, something has failed in the original selling of this idea to the Board of Education 2 years ago. And I don't know what that is, but I think this Board of Education, I think you individual members have responsibility to ask those questions of this administration. If it wasn't needed 2 years ago, why is it needed now? What's changed? We put together a very expensive administrative reorg that's costing these taxpayers an awful lot of money. And it's denying the students an awful lot of specific teachers' instructional help in those classrooms. And you talk about continuity in this article. I know, Mr. Traub, but I've also seen you leave a lot of other people talking one heck of a lot longer than me. And you talk about continuity. You want to talk about continuity in a school district.
We cannot be civil.
You can not be civil, that's okay. I'm used to this Board of
It's
Education.
been 10 minutes.
I'm used to this Board of Education not
It's
being
been
civil
10
to me
minutes.
as well, sir, so it's no
It's been 10
surprise to me.
minutes. Thank you.
You talk about continuity,
you.
where's
It's
the
been 10
continuity
minutes,
in
Mr.
your
Chairman.
program?
Bell. William Bell.
Thank you. My name is William Battle, parent, 69 Red Mountain Avenue. In the book it says, when two or more are gathered together in his name, we have politics. This is a political season, whether we like it or not. And unfortunately for this season, even though we want to keep politics out of education, the nature of this season, we're going to find a lot of politics in education. The incumbent's going to have to defend himself by the challenger for things that are coming for the reform. The reform system is going to be one of the big problems with both parties coming up. And it shouldn't be, but it's going to be. That's the nature of politics. It would not be if the reform situation itself, and I have not named it, and I will not name it. The problem was that it has come in a political formula. We have bypassed our legislature for the first time in an initiative like this. And also, we have not had the scrutiny and the transparency that we needed for this thing to be other than cumbersome and not what we should have. What I would like the board to do, though, given this situation, is if you can, take yourself 10 or 15 minutes and find out what you can about the reform legislation that we've had, find out how it began, who began it, who are the people who paid for it, its relationship with the federal government. For those that have a legal background, they might want to check out the 9th and the 10th Amendment if that's possible to do, or even the Connecticut Statute 10-4 and 10-11, if that comes to mind. The thing is that it's going to be a contentious, very, very, very contentious argument about the reform, and I would like the members of the Torrington Board not to be out in the cold when it comes to the information about it. Many, many people that I've talked to and in very, very many boards of education have not known what it began with, what it was about, how it came to pass, why it was so fast, why it bypassed the legislation. All these things are going to be talked about, and I would like to believe that our town, if other towns not, at least know what they're talking about when it comes up. And it will come up, and it's going to come up within the next month. So if you could, spend some time. It won't be that much. There's a lot of information. If you need to know where to go online, you can give me a call, and I'll direct you to the things that are online about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. If you don't know me, I'm Mary Svech-Giuliano, and I am beginning my second term after my landslide victory against no one in May. So I will be here for the next 2 years. I've been trying to be creative in how to build the communication between the Board of Ed and the teachers. I know there were some changes made last year in policy and things like that that adversely affect the high school students in relation to their grade points, things like that. So I just wanted to share a proposal that came up in a conversation that I had with a board member that may or may not be helpful. I was wondering if it was possible to add a teacher or two to your committee meetings that would strictly be resource. I mean, they obviously would have no vote. They would have no, they would be there simply for you to question about the effects of what you're discussing on the education and the students that they are in fact teaching. It can be a rep from each grade level. It could be one teacher if you didn't want too many, but I thought that that was a way where we could really bridge the gap between the school level and the Board of Ed level and the decisions that are made. So if anybody would like to contact me on how we go forward with that, if we can, I'm not sure of your bylaws and your constitution, if they can be changed or however, but that is my proposal to think about.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Are you staying? Mary, are you going to be staying?
Yes, I have to pick my son up at a certain time, and that's when I leave, whenever he
Okay.
texts me.
That's coming up on the agenda.
Oh, the committees or the bylaws?
Yes, it's the committees.
Okay,
So, thank you.
okay.
Okay, I need a motion to approve the agenda, but we need to make some amendments to it. Find my list. Here's my list. We need to change informational sharing session A. We are removing what is currently in there. People were not able to attend this evening. And we need to insert a statement that is part of an FOIC settlement that we had. And then I need to add, under action items, under consent agenda A6, and at your seats you will see the minutes for the special Board of Ed meeting on August 6th. That was not included, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's not included in the packet, and it is on here. It was late getting back from transcription. Can we get a motion to? Now, second? Sharon, discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. Okay. Yeah, but that just happens when we get there. This statement is in regards to a Freedom of Information settlement. The Board of Education Grievance Committee acknowledges that holding the evidentiary portions of certain grievance hearings in executive session violated the Freedom of Information Act. The Board of Education and the Board of Education Grievance Committee acknowledges that the evidentiary portion of a grievance hearing does not constitute collective bargaining strategy and negotiations, and it is not incumbent upon the board to identify and communicate to the public any claimed exemption under the Freedom of Information Act that would permit the board to hear grievance evidence in executive session. The Board of Education has agreed to have all of its members participate in a training offering by the FOIC and is committed to complying with the requirements of the Freedom of Information Act. Okay. Having said that, we have a Freedom of Information training session coming up. Okay, Superintendent's report.
I just wanted to share with you with convocation. We did it in 2 parts this year. Both we first did it the first day with the elementary teachers up at Schweinfurt, and the major speaker was our Teacher of the Year, Dawn Luttrow. The second day was for the secondary 6 through 12 faculty, staff, and administrators. It was held here at the high school, and the major speaker was Lance Boynton from Dymex, and Dawn Luttrow, who was our Teacher of the Year, and who shared in the fact of what business and the private sector is looking at, the expectations of the behavior, skills, and ability to apply knowledge to problem-solving situations in the workforce today. So it was a different kind of convocation, but it allowed us to provide more professional development for our teachers. The other thing is, I was going to share with you, it's in your packet, is some opening day statistics. As of opening day, we have 4,246 students in the district. Your packet also demonstrated how the number and the sizes of each of our buildings. Our diversity is also just to show the groups, the ethnicity, and the breakdown of groups when the state looks at us. And so the whole diversity component is at the bottom of the page, but it's also on the upper part of the page, it's as percent by grade level. So you see how our population is broken out. Are there any questions about that?
Yeah, I have a question. When I was looking at that, obviously, we know through the years, our 8th grade class, not all of our middle school kids, students, go to the high school. Just say these were the numbers that would represent last year's 8th grade class being 357 and this year's class being 308 for freshmen. So it's approximately 50 students from the middle school are not going to the high school. I'd like to get, if it's possible, get a little more information about who those 50 kids are, as far as were they the top students in the 8th grade? What was the motivation? Obviously, a lot of them may have wanted to go to trade school, which is great. But in terms of, are we losing our top students to other institutions? And what is the reason why our potentially top students maybe, I don't know if they're our top students, but if you can provide that information, it'd be interesting for the board to see.
We've been pulling it out. I'll bring it to you for the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
That's definitely easy enough to do.
Okay, thank you.
The next thing that had come up was an interest in who is participating in AP classes and then actually taking exams. Last year, we had 500 students in grade 11, 12, and there was also one 10th grader who took an AP class last year. Of those 500 students, 239 took AP classes, or 48% of the students in 11th and 12th grade were taking AP classes, which demonstrates that students are looking to take more rigorous classwork. Of those 239 students who took AP classes, 97 opted to take the test. Of those 97 students, they were administered 175 exams, which means some students may have taken 1, 2, I know one student took 3. Of the 97 students who took the 175 exams, or let me back up, 59 of those 175 exams, students scored high enough to earn college credit. So 34% of the students who took exams earned college credit, because you have to score 3, 4, or 5. Of last year's class, there were 242 students in the 8th grade. 232 of those 242 graduated. I do not have the cohort ratio, but for the 242 students who were designated to graduate last year, 232 did. So that's about a 96% graduation rate, but that's not how the state measures it. They go by cohort that they start and where they graduated in 4 years. However, that does not take into consideration students who may be receiving special education support, because we are required to educate them until age 21. But just looking at who was on our list, the seniors last year, 96% graduated. Also included in your packet are the names of schools to which students were accepted. And so we had 101 students accepted at colleges of 242 students, and better than 40% are attending college this year. Because for those who we have multiple acceptances, we can assume that they are attending that school. They don't, this was just pulled from our data down at central office. I did not ask the guidance department to pull it apart at this time.
This is only those that reported it.
Right,
We don't know how many didn't report it.
right.
Yes.
Is there a way in the future we can track where they were accepted, not just necessarily where they went? Because a lot of kids, I know in this past class, were accepted to some pretty good colleges, but due to financial reasons, opted for a
Right.
different college.
Mhm.
I think it'd be interesting to see where they're getting accepted as well as where they're going. Not for this year, but maybe for this year.
Yes, Paul.
Is there, Cheryl, is there a selection process for who can take AP, or is that self-selected, or?
Any student can take. There's not any student, there's no selection process.
There is none.
No, but any student can take what
Okay.
they want. It's even the exam, obviously.
Yes.
Okay, several comments. First of all, let's just go to the concept of the high school, 101 students accepted by colleges out of 239. Whether or not that's good or bad, that's a whole debate. But it's interesting that we have a school system which is striving and intending to have all of its resources for students to go to college, and less than half of your students are going to college.
Less than half reported that they were going to college. There's no requirement for a student to report what schools they applied to, what schools they were accepted to, what school they're going to. You know, there's no requirement, like you can't have your diploma until you tell me where you're going. So some fill out the form, some don't. It isn't a requirement.
Well, I guess you would know how many students actually filled out the form. So if 239 filled out the form, then, unless they're lying on filling out, I don't know how many filled out the form. Do you have that data?
101.
101.
101, only 100 and, oh, okay, only 101 filled out the
Yeah,
form.
because the form is where you're going to school and you hand it in. If you don't hand it in, then we have no idea.
And when do you ask for them?
The end of, what, the end of June, once the
Early.
kids know,
Earlier
that-
than here, yeah, in the beginning of June.
or even earlier, because once they receive their acceptances.
Yeah, submit everything and, yeah.
Okay, then we can assume okay. If we can't even get the kids to have enough energy to fill out the form, we have a whole nother problem in our educational institution here. But let's just say that we're 40% of our students don't go to college. And the point I'm trying to get at is we allocate X amount of money with a goal, and if the goal is college, then we're not doing a very good job if that's the goal. And we should try to reorganize, refocus our resources to what, just hypothetically, assume that 120 other students aren't going to college. Then did we really service those students correctly over their academic career here in Torrington if we were trying to promote to them college and a majority of the students never intended to go to college?
We do have two programs. We have career-ready and college-ready programs. There's two different courses of study in high school.
And how many are in the,
You either go career or you go college. You fill out the form if you want to fill it out.
okay, and you have those numbers as far as, you're looking at me like, it's a
Yeah, it is, but it's,
How many are in AP?
with what you're asking for has begun this year. I know this is not my turn to talk, but, okay. What you're saying is a problem that we recognized 2 years ago from Torrington Public Schools. Because Torrington Public Schools has always been a comprehensive high school, meaning focusing on students who are going to four-year colleges, okay?
Yeah.
That's pretty much our majority, our focus. But then we found, first of all, we looked at our dropout rate, which 4 years ago was, or not dropout rate, but graduation rate 4 years ago was 77%,
right.
okay? And last year, by state measure, it was 86.9, so we have more students now staying in school and earning a diploma. So that was our first goal. Now, because as we look at the number of students who have applied and are attending BOAG schools, so they're interested in technical and BOAG schools, we started this year with a partnership with Northwest Community College, where students, it's an extended day school for them. They go, I think we have 3 to 5, it's the first time we've offered it, are going to Oliver Wolcott after school. They are being taught by Northwest Connecticut Community College professors. It's a pre-manufacturing program. It includes blueprint, it includes machines, and what will happen for the students if they see it through, because it's for 11th and 12th graders, they can graduate not only with their high school diploma, but with an associate's degree in pre-manufacturing. And then they could earn, depending on what avenue they take, they could, work for one of the multiple manufacturing firms in and around Litchfield County. And even if they go in on an entrance level, they can still continue their education because it will be paid by the manufacturer. This is something that we've been working to develop with the Manufacturing Coalition in town. There's, on October 3rd, on a Friday, because we know we have to start earlier than high school, we are preventing a manufacturing workshop, and we'll have 10 to 12 manufacturers from the area who are coming, so that children, and hopefully it'll still be there at night, they can be exposed, because when you think of manufacturing, you think of, you know, dirty, sweaty factories. They're not like that anymore. Last year, we took a tour around to 27 manufacturers here in Northwest Connecticut, and those places were cleaner than probably, you know, my kitchen floor. Okay, use that as the example. But it's because we have students, because, and I can give you the data about our free and reduced lunch rate. Right now, at Torrington High School, we have 43% of the students are on free and reduced lunch. Given those kinds of numbers, that means that a lot of these students will be graduating, and they will need to go into some kind of job to either A, support themselves or help support their family. They do not necessarily have the funding to even go to Northwestern Community College. So if we can have these students graduate with some skills that will allow them to enter, you know, the businesses that are here locally, then we can, number one, we can build capacity in the businesses, we can build capacity in our community, because we will have career-ready people who then can continue their education, because it'll be paid for by whom they're working. You know.
Yes, I'm an example.
Yeah, sorry, thank you, but you know, it's just starting. And the question that Mr. Cavanero raised about that was somebody we had in our budget last year that we didn't get to hire, and we hired this year. And that is that person's goal, to really make a critical, I mean, not only to oversee our Michigan Avenue Academy down there, but also to make connections with the community, working with the high school, to how can we offer programs, curriculum, where students can graduate with some type of licensure, some type of certification, so that they can enter the workforce on a higher level than just with their high school diploma.
And that's the big concern, you know, obviously. Clearly, there's a large, based on the demographics of our population, does Torrington High School need to have its bulk of resources trying to get kids ready for college versus going in the other direction? I'm very pleased that you're talking about it. Then the second issue that I would like to talk about is the AP classes, i.e., for example, calculus. I'm not positive if you know, 33, 34%, 30% passage rate to get the credit is good based on our previous history, the last, say, 5 years, 10 years, how our students have been doing normally when they've been taking these tests. Are we going up? We going down? Are our students in these advanced placement classes stronger, weaker than they were in the past? And it's always a tough discussion to ever try to say, well, how are other school districts doing as far as when their students are taking AP classes? Are they achieving a much better result when they take the final test?
So would you like to see, is it possible to get, like we did with the budget, is there a way to get a 5-year review?
I don't know.
If they can get it, we'll
I'll
try to
ask,
get 3 or 5 years of data and see if we can
yeah.
pull that together.
Because, you know, maybe we need to look at boosting our AP classes. I know a lot of board members, Mr. Rivera being one of them, would like to see that.
We offer, Torrington High School, we offer above average the number of AP courses than compared to high schools our size. We offer over 36. And you asked about the calculus. There's 3 different calculus classes, and we had, I'm sorry, there's, yeah, 3. We had 34 students.
Right.
take calculus classes.
And
AP
9 of them, I
calculus.
believe, got credit on the AP test. So is that good, is it bad? I'm not positive. Yeah, I
But-
mean,
The way, right now, how schools are being asked to look at it is, do students, one, have the opportunity to take more rigorous classes? And we can say, yes, they are. Are they taking them? Yes. If over half of our junior and senior class, at least, chose these to be their classes, whether they went to get college credit or just to have a more rigorous class that they were participating in. Some students may not have taken it for the AP because it may have reflected upon their grade and they didn't want to change their, cume, their grade cume.
okay. And then the last thing is, I did ask as far as, did we send any kids to any of the service academies? And was assured by Mr. Chairman and Mr. Superintendent that we were. I look at the college enrollment for this year's class, don't see any of that, don't see any students who went to it. It's not like, again, it's not bad, it's not good,
No,
it's just that.
Yeah, that's one of the people that didn't report because,
What's that?
that's one of the people that didn't report because I know he's going there, so.
Oh, you do know that?
Yeah.
Because I never saw, I mean, these
No,
are
I know a student that's
appointments
going
by.
there this year. He graduated last year. That's why the 101, I just have to chuckle because I know that one's not on there, so.
Well, then, if that's the case, then I'd like to know.
And that's why I took that whole list with a grain of salt because as soon as I know of 2 kids that are going to military-based academies and neither one of them are on it. They were our color guard in the band last year.
But they got appointments to one of the service centers.
Yes.
Okay.
We have another one who's applying right now.
Right, and they're just not listed, so I don't.
And currently, I know we have one at the Air Force, a couple of years out, we have, I think they're juniors, one at the Air Force Academy and one at West Point.
And we've had a tradition of having students go to the service academies, and I would like to assure that whatever we were doing in the past, we continue to do in the future, as we're always trying to change and revise the school districts.
Well, we have a robust ROTC program here.
Yeah.
What do we have, about 125 students?
A little bit less than that, but it's
Okay.
over 100.
As many as we have in the band, we have in ROTC, and that's highly unusual.
Okay. That's all I have to say.
And a lot of, that becomes another option for a lot of students. At our award ceremony last year, I think there were 10 or 12 that received their initial commission to the military.
I just want to say, the reason why I bring these issues up is, I think that watching the situation that we have in the city of Torrington, so many people, so many parents are not wanting to live in Torrington because they say, I don't want to send my kid to this school district. And I ask these questions because I think the public should know that if you go to this school district, you can get an appointment to a service academy, you can go to a good college, you have a wide variety of AP courses. I'm not really positive why so many middle-class people are opting out of Torrington on the sole basis or rationale that they give me. I don't want to be in the school district, but it's always been this way, that we've always had excellence at the highest level of the school district. So how do we get that promoted to the general public so that people want to come and live in Torrington? Because we give all our students great opportunities to excel.
It happens because you have a past chair just say that we don't offer high-end classes and didn't stick around for the data to say that half of the junior and senior class are taking AP level classes. So I mean, to make a public statement that we're sacrificing the education of the higher end kids and not even stay for the data. It's just because you can take a free pot shot and you can walk out. And the facts were coming right after it, but we don't wait. It's easier to sell bad than it is to sell good. one of our board goals we gave to the superintendent was marketing. How do we better market? It's exactly what you're saying. We need to better market the way Torrington Schools is perceived.
Yeah, I agree.
And past board members doing that doesn't help.
And one of the things that we have done is we've put on public access an hour program that hasn't even repeated anything of outstanding programs, activities, interviews with students, student-run documentaries. It's on Tuesday night, 7 to 8 o'clock on cable. And the public can see intimately what's happening in their public schools.
ADA compliance, exterior phase 1 project. We gave it this illustrious name because we couldn't come up with any other name for it. It's all you, Dave and Joe.
I just have one more thing too.
What we have to do this evening is similar to the Forbes roof project. We have an ADA compliance project coming up that's eligible for some grant reimbursement. We need to have this presentation and then appoint a building committee. We need to direct the business manager to send a letter to the city council asking that they declare the project, that the money is in our budget, in our capital, and that, they approve a building committee that we're gonna propose tonight so that the project can proceed.